You and I verse. We're gonna do a video on the moon in Cancer with the sun in Libra. The influences on all signs. But first, I'm gonna show y'all something new. Y'all, something y'all ain't heard yet. It's called New Era. Produced by myself. You dig? Produced by Metaphor77. Vocals by Metaphor77. You're
Crossroad, like into intervention. Let your guard down. A brutified thought deception. Astro magenta. Steve showed me stand alone. I know we got the talent. My forethought,
like Stephen Hawking's talents.
a love for art. Allow me to swing
The
the
soul.
and author. 2 E's. I'm like Excalibur's. Ride slow, homie. Check your brake
Pads and calipers. Dun, dun, dun,
I
dun.
know we
Like caterpillars waiting to grow, but we still build pillars of gold. Dun, 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 dun.
I know we
Like caterpillars waiting to grow, but we still build pillars of gold. That's the hook, you heard? I know we like.
Is what I see. World in your hands, you have your dreams to live out. But if you point the map out, in the process of past endeavors, made you think like you have forever. I'm like blue dog, thin
The shiny red nose,
snows, it's all
around,
around.
build it up.
Snowman, Kendrick said.
The Indian pledge.
The key is land. You should invest. Action with so much. Withdraw constantly. Conscious
Punch like blast or C4.
Kaboom! Facts, my tactics. I
Master.
I'm master. We should need you. Shit, I'm so deaf to the bullshit.
Bullshit.
Just stepped into a land. Oh man, fuck it. Worst rap contact. High. Levitating.
I'm higher than the 33
I
Mason.
watch the blank faces with an opposite. There is no positive.
Nerd.
I know we like
Caterpillars to grow, but we still build pillars of gold. Sing that along with me, you heard? I know we like caterpillars waiting to grow, but we still build pillars of gold.
They want to divide us, categorize
Rise to conquer,
Black Ghost City, and it's what my basis is.
bass in my
lap,
around the base is quick, bass in my pen.
then high off contact, like bass in the pen. Grown from a city deep, it's the citadel. Sit down, I got
More stories to tell. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're going to go ahead and break this down. The moon in Cancer with the sun in Libra. We're going to break down the influences on all signs. We're going to start with Cancer, first house, rising and ascendant, all the way to Leo, first house, rising and ascendant. So let's get into it. Cancer in the first house is all about dealing for your personal affairs or caring for one's individuality at this point in time. So essentially, you want to feel comfortable with your own personal life or what you're dealing with in your own individuality. So essentially, you being this individual, only you can be yourself. So essentially, you have to accept oneself to be in this higher octave in the first house. So essentially, if you feel uncomfortable with your own circumstance situation, you're kind of in that lower octave to a point where essentially you have to actually accept yourself to put yourself in a more beneficial state with this Cancer in the first house if you're a Cancer rising, right? Excuse me. So yeah, moving forward, Gemini, first house, rising and ascendant, is dealing with Cancer in the second house. And the second house is all about your values and value systems. So essentially your values of a person, place, thing, or idea. So you have to care for the people around you at this point in time. And Gemini has to care a little bit more about their words and what they're utilizing based on their linguistics and things of that nature. So yeah, moving forward, like I say, you have to deal with your person, place, thing, or idea. So essentially you have to be more caring for the places that you're in and caring for the people that you're around at this point in time if you're a Gemini rising. And you know what I'm saying? We're going to get into Diddy, essentially. We're going to get into the Scorpio energy, and we're going to get into it right now if you want. You dig? If you're talking about it, Scorpio, first house, rising and ascendant, and all the Scorpio energy is dealing with the Cancer of the ninth house. So essentially, They got to care for their experience in circumstance situations like that at this point in time. Yeah, shoot. Shout out to everybody in the chat. But yeah, like I'm saying, getting back to where I'm actually at, we go get all the way back down to Scorpio, and we're going to break down the rest of Scorpio's circumstance situations. And keep in mind, that's a Scorpio sun sign we talking about. So essentially, he got to care for his experience and care how to get out of jail. You dig what I'm saying? Things like that. But yeah, Taurus, first house, rising in the ascendant, opposite to the Scorpio. They're in this space where they have to care for their neighborhood and their environment. And they're able to see the opportunity and what they need to care for. So a way I like to break down the third house is see who in your environment, if you, I'm saying, work towards benefiting them, they could actually benefit you in a reciprocal state. So it's like if you care for somebody long enough to a point where you can actually see them being more beneficial in the future, and that's the person that you actually want to deal with your environment and things of that nature. You want to see the opportunity and who to actually care for in your environment. Or maybe in this space that's like you're able to see somebody that could actually use a hand and things like that. I see like the individual always begging on the corner, they actually are very genuine about their own circumstance situation. Maybe you could actually break somebody off and kind of give somebody a little bit more advice or even care for their circumstance situation. But yeah, moving forward, the Aries first house rising ascendant is dealing with the Cancer in the fourth house. And the fourth house is all about your privacy, your home, and essentially that your family and things of that nature, your heart space. So essentially, Aries has to learn to be more caring for their private matters, their home, and things like that. So essentially, they're in this 90-degree angle to a point where it's like a square and this pressure. So it's like Aries is kind of more caring about their own individuality for the most part. But essentially, you have to realize that it takes a group to actually achieve. So essentially, teamwork make the dream work. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't ever do everything on your own. You actually want to work with those people that are close to you and close to your heart, to a point where you could actually care for other people's circumstance situations and their private matters and things like that. I don't even know what that means. Dude say you look like a little drop top. I don't even know what that means. If you could explain to me what that means, I have no idea. But yeah. Shout out to everybody saying all kinds of things in the chat. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and break down Pisces first house rising ascendant, which is having the Cancer in the fifth house. And keep in mind, the fifth house is all about your expression. So essentially, Pisces is caring for one's expression at this point in time. So you can't, Pisces, you have to kind of keep in mind that the things that you say, you may have the gift to actually put people in this emotional state. You can kind of like manipulate people at this point in time. So keep in mind that if you don't want to actually somebody to feel a certain type of way, you have to kind of care for your expression and things of that nature. So like that's kind of the space that you're in. Emotions are very passionate at this point in time. So essentially, you're going to have passionate expressions at this point in time as well, based on Mars also being conjunct in Cancer. So like keep in mind, whatever you express at this point in time, you could actually put somebody in an emotional state that's kind of negative. You might have the gift to do that, you know what I'm saying, if you're on the lower octave. But if you're on that higher octave, you're able to actually care for one's expression to a point where you could actually see, if I express myself in this certain light, I could actually benefit others and things of that nature. Moving forward, the Aquarius first house rising ascendant is dealing with the sixth house being in Cancer. And keep in mind, the sixth house is all about your routines, your patterns, and also your health. And if you want to look at it this way, Aquarius has to care for their own routine or care for the pattern that they're a part of, or care for their own health at this point in time. So it's like Aquarius, stop worrying about others, kind of worry about yourself and worry about what you got going on and care for your own routine and pattern, to a point where it's like, if you're working so hard for others and you don't work for yourself, and it's kind of like this non-beneficial state. So you want to keep in mind that these emotions are also very passionate at this point in time, to a point where you actually want to feel passionate about caring for your routine and pattern and caring for your health, right? So Capricorn, first house rising ascendant, is dealing with this 180-degree angle opposition, right? So they're able to add on or oppose to caring for relations or relationships. Capricorn, like I say, is kind of like the boss, and that like all about their status and all about their money. So that's really the only thing they actually do care about for the most part. But if you want to be in a state where you could actually add on to circumstance situations, that you kind of want to care more for like the people around you and things like that, and care to relate to others more. So it's like if you are the boss, you kind of want to have this open door policy at this point in time, where you're open to actually have a conversation about who you're relating and relating to. So yeah, I personally gave some care for my own circumstance situation. I got me a nice little chair, you dig? If y'all ain't noticed, this is a real nice lazy boy chair for I could do more live streams and be more comfortable. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like this is perfect circumstance situation for the moon in Cancer for me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm caring more for my home at this point in time. And caring more for my own comfortability. And keep in mind the moon in Cancer is all about your comfortability as well. So it's like you're having circumstance situations where you're kind of more receptive to caring for oneself at this point in time and caring for your emotions. And if you're on that opposite state to a point where you don't care about circumstance situations, you can see yourself kind of unraveling at this point in time. So moving forward, the Sagittarius first house rising ascendant is dealing with the eighth house being in Cancer. Keep in mind the eighth house is in conjunction to the first house, right? So essentially the Sagittarius is in this misunderstanding state. There's a 150-degree angle. So the Sagittarius likes to adapt to their own way and their own vision and things like that, and adapt to other people's visions and things like that. But at this point in time, you want to have more care for, pardon me, having, is like you're dealing with having rebirth for what one cares for at this point in time. So like you're kind of shifting what you actually cared for in the past to what you're caring for now. So it's like you're having this transformation. You kind of want to care for what you're transforming into and things like that. So it's like whatever you're shifting to adapt to, you want to kind of have more care for this emotion that you're dealing with based on this transformation, right? Or what's going on behind the scenes. So whatever's going on behind the scenes, you kind of want to have more care for that in this circumstance situation based on the moon being in Cancer for the Sagittarius rising. And then getting back to the Scorpios. So y'all Scorpios are in an interesting circumstance situation. You have the gift, right? So you have the gift to care for one's experience at this point in time based on being in the trine. So if you're in a space where you don't really care about your experience and you're okay with where you're at, it's like, shoot. Some of y'all Scorpios are in a very negative space. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about Diddy earlier, you know what I'm saying? And the individual said, talk about Diddy a little bit. Shoot, I'm going to keep it a buck. He better care for his experience because, shoot, he's not going to do too well in jail and things like that. He's going to get extorted like a mug. But yeah, at the end of the day, you want to care for your own experience at this point in time. And you have the gift to actually being more free or kind of be in this space where it's like fight or flight. So you kind of want to care for one's own experience to a point where you can actually fight for your own right to party, kind of thing like that. You know what I'm saying? And make sure you're not having no Diddy parties. Shoot, the whole internet talking about y'all now, you know what I'm saying? So shoot, at the end of the day, you kind of want to keep your mind on people are kind of keeping your eye on y'all. You dig what I'm saying? But yeah, getting left field of that, all jokes aside, caring for one's experience or caring for one's wisdom at this point in time. Keep in mind, Cancer is a very wise sign, a very intuitive sign. So essentially, you want to care for the emotions that you're experiencing as well. So essentially, you want to keep an eye on keep your mind on your emotional state as well, whatever you're experiencing emotionally and things like that. So moving forward, the Libra first house rising ascendant is dealing with the 10th house being a Cancer. I almost said Scorpio. The 10th house being a Scorpio. Oh, dang, yeah, now I got it all fucked up. I mean, messed up. The Libra rising first house and ascendant is dealing with the 10th house being in Cancer, right? So the 10th house is all about your career, your blueprint, and what you're known for in your career, right? Or like essentially your public persona, so to speak. So you have to care for one's status as well. Another way is breaking down as a status, right? Or your, like I say, your career or your status, so to speak. So Libra has to kind of be a little bit more conscious about what they're talking about and who they're relating to a point which, like, even if you think that you're just talking to somebody for the sake of conversation, realize that that's actually a part of your status. So, like, the emotions and the intuition that other people are experiencing based on you conversating with these certain individuals, they're going to kind of get this inclination that, oh, dang, they're actually a part of this career that this other person's a part of based on them just communicating with this other individual. So kind of like keep them in your mind that, like, your status is kind of on the line at this point in time. To a point where you kind of want to care a little bit more for what you're known for. Got to get my lemonade, you dig? End of the summertime, but we still sipping that tea, you dig? Yeah, so Virgo rising, first house and ascendant, is dealing with the 11th house being in Cancer. And keep in mind, the 11th house is all about your public persona or your association. Kind of like to the 10th house, but a little bit different. Or like your internet persona, so to speak, or the culture that you're a part of. So essentially, the Virgo is being able to see the opportunity to care for the group that one is associated with at this point in time. So it's like if you're in a group where people are kind of more, let's just say, you're in kind of like this Alcoholics Anonymous kind of thing, and you're like the leader of the group, and you're the one that's got all the little chips and things like that. You kind of want to be able to care for other people that are a part of the group, and you're actually able to see the opportunity how to work with these other individuals to actually get them out of that state. I'm saying things like that. Or you're a part of like a music group, and someone's going through something kind of in their personal life to a point where it's kind of affecting the group. You're able to actually see the opportunity how to care for that aspect of the group and how to get the group together to actually benefit the whole. You dig? So then moving forward, the Leo first house rising ascendant, last but not least, excuse me, is dealing with the 12th house being in Cancer. And keep in mind the 12th house, is all about the faith, belief, imagination, or also false beliefs. So essentially, Leo at this point in time, they might be in a space where it's a little bit more dreamy, and they're kind of in this illusionary state to a point where these emotions that they're dealing with are kind of like imaginary. It's like you're kind of putting yourself, like kind of putting false beliefs upon oneself to a point where you kind of want to care more about your imagination at this point in time, to a point where it's like you want to find these beneficial emotions and what emotions to utilize, or essentially see what you're caring for also in false faith. So it's like, so maybe you're caring for something to a point where it's like you actually shouldn't be caring as much as you do. Maybe you need to care more about oneself. So whenever the Leo moon hits, you're actually able to be in a space where you can kind of care for one's own vision and things like that, and care for one's own vision and these emotions that you're dealing with based on that vision. But yeah, so like the moon in Cancer, kind of like to wrap it all up, is a at-home space for the moon. So we feel very comfortable at this point in time, but based on it also conjuncting Mars, it's in a space that it's going to be very passionate emotions. So keep in mind, emotions can be a little bit erratic. So like if you're dealing with someone that has maybe like bipolar disorder or something like that, like they may have this very erratic emotion. So it's like emotion at this point in time is something that you want to be very aware of and be very intuitive. So it's like if you're around people that kind of like change their emotions very quickly, you kind of want to tread lightly and things like that. Don't try to like kind of put emotions on other individuals and make people feel uncomfortable at this point in time. Because keep in mind, like once the Cancer doesn't like you, they're gonna like hate you forever. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't give someone a reason to utilize that emotion, hate, and things like that. It's a very difficult emotion to deal with. But at the end of the day, sometimes people are just gonna hate regardless. So it's like sometimes people have to find something to dislike and things of that nature. So essentially, if you're dealing with a Cancer, like, okay, another way to break this down is if you have a Cancer in your life and you could actually see them interacting, if they're on the higher or lower octave, this is the point in time where you're going to be able to see that come to the light. Because, like, for example, the sun sign Cancer is going to be the example to follow, or actually the example to stray away from, how they interact and things of that nature whenever the moon is in Cancer. So, for example, maybe we had the moon being in Scorpio. You want to keep like all the Scorpios on your mind and see what kind of Scorpio is kind of a higher octave Scorpio, to a point where they actually are putting themselves in higher octave beneficial states comparatively to lower octave negative states and things like that. So like another way to break it down is like, say you're dealing with the Capricorn moon. You want to look at the Capricorns and see, are they actually standing on business? Are they actually a person that can actually work on their own circumstance, situation, and benefit from that, right? That's an easy way to look at like how you should actually interact whenever the moon comes around to these certain spaces. So it's like if you're aware of these other people's sun signs and the moon is actually in their sign, you can see, okay, this is the reason why this individual is interacting this way, because whenever the moon comes around to this space, I know how I'm supposed to interact. This individual always interacts in the opposite way, to a point where it's non-beneficial. That's another way to break it down and like kind of look at these individuals in your immediate area and see who should you be a part of, or what kind of group should you work with instead of working against. You know what I'm saying? And also, you can also see based on your houses what area of life this person is participating in. So it's like, for example, if you're a Leo rising, like I was mentioning earlier, and you have Cancer in the 12th house, you can kind of look at what kind of Cancers that you're around that can actually dream and actually look towards the future and see like where do they actually want to be in the next 10 years. If they don't have a dream that they're trying to accomplish, this is kind of a Cancer that you kind of want to stray away from. If they're kind of in like this lost state to a point where they can't actually benefit you or benefit themselves as well, this is the example of a Cancer that you shouldn't be working with. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if they're like an associate, maybe you just kind of want to minimize your times around this individual, right? Or say you're a Taurus rising, first house and ascendant, right? And you're dealing with a Cancer in your environment, right? You could see, okay, is this environment toxic or is this environment actually beneficial to a point where how this Cancer interacts, do they actually make me feel comfortable, right? And if they make you feel uncomfortable, then you realize that, okay, maybe in my environment I shouldn't interact like this individual. That's an easy way to break it down. So like, you just kind of want to look at the areas of life, aka the houses, and see what kind of sign you're dealing with, and see also how they're interacting to a point where it's like either they're benefiting or they're non-beneficial. So we're going to go ahead and stop at 21 minutes. You dig what I'm saying? So peace and love. You believe in all that. You dig? And you go ahead and hit me in the comments or hit me in the live chat. And if you have any other questions before I get up out of here, or you can go ahead and email me at conscious1347. That's conscious1347@gmail.com. Or if you want to support the movement you need to be in tune with, go ahead and hit me in the Cash App at conscious1347. Peace and love. If you believe in all that, go ahead and tap in with me on the next video. We out.